Alright, welcome to Hack Central Pro's operation training. So today we will start our operation journey. But before we check the settings and operations, we should know that how to install Hack Central Server, right? So before we check the steps of the installation work, I want to introduce Hackvision's global website to you. Alright, so you may notice that we have a brand new website. And on the website, you will get the latest installation package and also the documents and some other downloads like what's new, compared with the previous versions. And also software requirements like if I want to deploy Hack Central Pro server, what kind of service or what kind of performance you want to refer, so you can check all the downloads. We have a lot of documents to introduce the details of the software. Alright, and also we've prepared 41 videos to you, so for reference. Alright, so speaking of the installation package, please go to the website and download. You see that maybe you will have questions. Wow, there are so many packages. So let me introduce one by one. So this is for server, Hack Central Pro version 1.6.0. This is for server, very important one. And if you want to install control plan, for the operators, we have 34-bit and 32-bit installation package. And if you need to use pstore in your project, or you can call it PC NVR or Windows-based NVR, then you can use this package to do the management. Alright, and if you have the Active Directory and you have the domain, your technical support want to update the control client in the batch, then you can use the .msi. Alright, and then we have a SAC installer in version 1.6. This is for pstores central management. So if you have multiple pstores, then you can use the SAC installer. Or maybe I think you have ever heard from the technical support guys from Hackvision, and they may call it pstore cluster. So pstore cluster, SAC is the same thing. Alright, so get the package and prepare a PC or server which is in line with the one we recommend in the software requirements and hardware performance. Okay, so now let's start the installation work. This is a PowerPoint for the customers, so if you want to have some reference, you can check some videos, and also we've prepared some steps for you. And we have 5 parts, so server centralized deployment, distributed one, installation of streaming service, installation pstore, and also installation pstore cluster. So don't worry, actually the most important one is about the server centralized deployment. So we call it server centralized deployment. Actually it's the most important and most common one for the applications. So server distributed deployment, like we said, if you have more than 3,000 cameras, let's say 4,000 or 5,000, you want 2 servers to improve the whole performance, then we can choose the distributed one. But this one, centralized, Hack Central Server, centralized deployment is the most popular one. Alright, installation of streaming service is also optional. If you have a lot of non-Hackvision cameras, or maybe you have more WAN clients, WAN WAN clients, and also you have a lot of operators which needs to get streams from the same cameras, maybe streaming service is a good choice. Alright, but it's not necessary, so we will talk about later when do we need to use streaming service. Alright, if you have the Windows-based NVR, you won't use the disks of the servers to do the management of the videos, then we can use a software called pstore. And if you have multiple pstores, then we can install the pstore cluster to do the central management of the pstores. Alright, so let's start number 1. Hack Central Pro Server deployment, or you can call it server centralized deployment. Alright, let's check the steps. So get to the package is the first step, and copy the package to your PC or server. And step 1, run the package with admin permission to avoid some Windows permission problems. Alright, and after you click run, you will see 2 options, typical and custom. So for the Hack Central Pro server, please choose typical, and then wait for minutes and check the running status, and that's it. So it's very easy to install Hack Central Pro server. And the last thing we have to do is about activation. Because you buy the license, so activate the license and then you can perform the settings. So it's very, very easy for the server centralized deployment, but still I want to show you the videos. And also, let's check some details when we install the software. Alright, get to the package, run as administrator. And after seconds, you will see 2 options there. Alright, welcome, accept. Alright, so the options, you will see typical and custom. So for Hack Central server, please choose typical and click next. But for the streaming service we're introducing you later on, you should choose custom. Alright, but for Hack Central server, typical please. Alright, and also you will see 3 options after the saving path. So for regular Hack Central Pro deployment, please choose normal. But for the failover solution, so you can choose mirror host pair. And also we have the shared storage host pair. This is for Windows cluster. So we recommend you to use mirror host pair to do the failover solution. So if you are interested about the failover solution, please contact our technical support for the further documents, means how to do the failover solution. Alright, let's finish the normal mode. Or we say it regular mode. Alright, so wait for minutes, and then you will see that Hack Central Web Client, Control Client, and Service Manager. You see that the status of the service is get started. Alright. So the first thing after you click Login Web Client, you need to set the password of your Hack Central server. Alright, and rename your Hack Central server. And then activation. So speaking of activation, we have 2 methods, online activation and offline activation. So if your server can connect with the internet, then please choose online activation. It's very easy, just copy the code and activate. Alright, so if your server cannot connect to the internet, then please log in Hackvision's website and to finish the offline activation work. Okay, so if you have interest about this process, we also prepared you the how-to documents from you can get from Hackvision's technical support guys. Alright, that's it. So that's the installation of Hack Central Pro server and also the activation work. And this one is the most popular and most important one. After this step, then you can log in your web client and perform the settings. Alright? So let's go on with step 2. So for server, distribute deployment, just for reference, actually this is not the necessary steps. First, we need to know when do we need to use server distribute deployment. When you have more than 3,000 cameras, and also you have more than 1,024 encoding devices to be managed. And also you have requirements about the alarm information to be received per second. So combat with the 3 factors, maybe you can prepare 2 servers and to deploy the server distributed deployment. Okay. I will not introduce too much for this part, but if you want to test this function, please first you should prepare 2 servers or 2 PCs. And second, please tell the technical support guys that you want a license for server distribute one. Otherwise, you cannot perform the function of server distribute deployment. Alright, so if you want to try, I recommend you to go to Hikvision's website to check the videos. So let's go on with part 3. Streaming service. So streaming service is for, forwarding the streams, right? So actually, I will introduce you when do we need to use streaming service first. Okay. So streaming service is optional. That's the first thing we need to know. Okay, why is that? Because in the Hack Central Pro server, we have an embedded streaming service called Streaming Gateway. So in order to make difference, we call the embedded streaming service called Streaming Gateway. And also the streaming service is optional, and also you need to have a separate PC or server to deploy it. So normally we don't need this because we have a streaming gateway in the Hack Central Pro server, right? And the performance is 200 CAM, multiples to Mbps. So when do we need to use the streaming service? When the performance is not good enough. When you have more than 200 cameras to get streams, then you may consider to deploy the streaming service. So question, if I have more than 200 cameras, do I need to buy another PC or server to install the streaming service? No, you don't have to, because not every cameras, not every streams should go through the streaming gateway. Because for Hikvision cameras, we use direct connection. So streaming gateway will not be enabled at all. For Hikvision cameras, we use direct connection. So when do we need to use streaming gateway? First, when you have non-Hikvision cameras. Second, when you have WAN client. So when you have non-Hikvision cameras connected, and also you have the one client, streaming gateway, I will write streaming gateway SG for short, okay? Streaming gateway will be enabled automatically. So when you have non-Hikvision cameras and also one client, streaming gateway will be enabled automatically. Alright? So how to distinguish one client and LAN client? Actually, it's the IP address. If you're using the one IP to log in Hack Central control client or web client, then it's one client. If you're using LAN IP, of course, it's LAN client, okay? Alright, so when you have non-Hikvision cameras and one client, and the streams is more than 200 cameras, then you may need to consider the streaming service. Otherwise, streaming gateway will not be enabled, okay? So question again. So you may consider that if I have no third-party cameras, all my NVR, DVR, all my cameras is from Hikvision. So can I use the streaming gateway? Because maybe I have, you have a lot of operators. Let's say I have 8 operators. Yeah, that's a very big project, right? You have 8 operators, but your cameras maybe is 2 series or 4 series, and the maximum connections. Maybe it's 6, right? It's not maybe, it's 6. But you have 8 operators, right? So the number 7, oh right, sorry. The number 7 and number 8 will be failed, the strings. So at these circumstances, you can use SG to solve the problem. Because, streaming service is for forwarding the stream. So if the device reaches its limit, the connection limit, I can use streaming gateway to forward stream to solve the problem. So, but for Hikvision cameras, you need to enable that manually, not automatically. Okay. So this is only for a reference. Just remember that when do we need to use the streaming gateway and when do we need to install the streaming service. So let's have a quick review. Only non-Hikvision cameras and also one client will use the streaming gateway and also automatically. For Hikvision cameras, in LAN network, we use direct connection, right? Alright, so only these two situations, streaming gateway will be enabled automatically. If the performance is not good enough, 200 cameras is not good enough, then you should use streaming service, okay? But in a separate PC or server. Alright. Speaking of the installation, actually there is a little bit difference between the HackCentral Pro server. So step 1, still run the package, the same package, okay? Same package from Hikvision Pro server, but choose different mode. For HackCentral Pro server, we choose typical. But for streaming service, we choose custom and check streaming service, alright? And wait for minutes, then installation work is done. But you see that we have more steps. We copy the certificate from HackCentral Pro Service web client and input the certificate to the service manager of streaming service to build the connections and also to do the security things. And the final step is add the standalone streaming service to HackCentral Pro. Alright, so step 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, let's have a look about the videos. So all the operation videos you can see from the global website, okay? You see that same installation package. But different mode, not typical anymore, but custom, and select HackCentral Streaming Service. Alright, and install. After installations, we need to download the certificate, right? But how can we get the certificate? Please go to the web client of the HackCentral Pro server. You see, that's the service manager of streaming service. So you will see the hint, please, import the certificate. So we should go back to the web client of HackCentral Pro server. System, security, and certificate. Choose the number 1. Use your admin password to generate the characters and letters. So I think it's more convenient compared with the previous versions, Previously, we need to use a USB, to copy, but now just remember the letters and numbers and input. That's it. And the final step is adding the standalone streaming service back to the HackCentral server. Alright, question for you. How many standalone streaming service can I add to HackCentral Pro server? I think you may already got your answers. It's 64. Okay, so 64 streaming service standalone can be added to the HackCentral Pro server. Alright, so let's have a review about some questions. So can I add the streaming service from the previous version, such as HCP version 1.4 to HCP 1.6 server? So why do we have these kind of questions? Because some customers, they are upgrading the software once we release the new versions, but they forgot to update the streaming service. So when you add the streaming service to Hack Central Pro server, just make sure that they have the same version number. So the previous version streaming service cannot be added to the new version's Hack Central Pro server. Okay. Alright, so the streaming capability of the standalone streaming service 300 multiples 2 Mbps incoming and outgoing. So still remember the performance of the streaming gateway? Yes, it's 200 cameras. Okay. Okay, question 3. Why cannot I generate the service certificate on my web client? Because you should check your web client is the locally web client or remote web client. So if you want to generate the certificate, please go to the locally web client, okay? Alright, so that's the installation of streaming service. Let's go on. About the pStore. So pStore, in version 1.6, we will introduce you the pStore installation and also pStore cluster installation. So let's try it one by one. To install the pStore, please follow the steps. So pStore, you may call it PC NVR or maybe you call it Windows-based NVR. So your disks of your server can be managed by the software and for video files. Alright, so first, the software package is not the same one. So if you want to use pStore, please download pStore version 1.4.1. Alright. And after the installation, you should log in the web page of pStore by inputting HTTPS, server IP, and also the port number is 6060. And the first thing you log in your pStore web page, you should modify your password. So this is a default password, so please modify this one to your password, okay? And then, define the storage space and allocate resource pool. And the final steps is also do the encryption work. So similar with the streaming service, but not the same actually. They have the different methods also. Alright. One more thing about pStore. If you want to use pStore, you should also apply the license. So the license is different from the Hack Central Pro servers. Okay, so 2 licenses. If you want to use pStore, 1 license for Hack Central Pro server, and the other one is for the pStore. Alright, so let's have a look about the videos. You see that this is for the pStore's package, but to be noticed, always use the latest version, okay, version 1.4.1. Alright, next, agree, saving path, and install. Wait 4 minutes and log in. This is a web page of pStores. And log in, please input admin, and the default password is capital HIK 88075998, if I remember correctly, but you can refer to the last slides, okay, and modify your password. Alright, and then you can follow the wizard actually. We have a prepared wizard for you. So storage space first. You can select like 10 GB or 100 GB. In the test video, we choose 10 GB and initialize. Don't forget the initialize. And then allocate resource pool. So override mode, capacity, cycle or not. Okay. And then the stream encryption work. So for pStores, you should do 2 encryption work. Okay. First, get the keys from web client of the Hack Central servers. Alright, so the certificate, but we're choosing the number 2. Export the certificate. So this is the encryption from Hack Central to pStore. Copy the keys and keep the level as low. So don't worry about the low. Actually, it's not low. It's because Pistol is the software for multiple platforms. So actually, low doesn't mean the security is low. And the second step is that copy the keys from Pistol to Hack Central Pro. When you add the Pistols back to recording server, after you click Add, you choose Pistol, the IP address. And one thing is that please don't input the IP address as the local IP 127.0.0.1, even though your Pistol are installing the same service with your Hack Central Pro server. Just input the actual IP address, okay? Alright, copy the access key and secret key. And if you need picture storage, please enable. If not, just disable. And input the username and password of Pistols. And click Add, then Finish. Alright, so that's it. That's the installation of Pistols. So let's have a quick review about the installation of Pistol. First, get the Pistol installation package. Alright. Second, log into the web page by the IP address and also the 6060 port number. And the transfer protocol is HTTPS. After you log in successfully, define the storage space and allocate resource pool. Alright, after that, set encryptions. The first encryption is Hack Central Pro to Pistol, and the second one is Pistol to Hack Central. Alright, 2 steps. And the final step is adding your Pistol to Hack Central server. And that's it. Alright. So the last one is about the Pistol cluster. This is also the new thing in version 1.6. So if you want to install Pistols, if you want to use Pistols, first we need to know when do we need to use Pistol cluster service. So Pistol cluster service is a service that can manage multiple Pistols. So if you have Pistol 1, 2, 3, or maybe 64, then you can use the Pistol cluster to do the central management of the Pistols. Alright, so before we introduce you how to install the Pistol cluster, let's have a look about where should we install the Pistol cluster. So similar page with the Pistols. Alright, so after you click Add, Pistol cluster. Alright, so this is Pistol cluster, and I think if you have ever tried Pistol, you will find that very similar setting page from Pistol. So we need IP address, username, password, and also access key and secret key, which means that you should do the encryption work also, right? Alright, so let's have a look about the page here. So about the Pistol cluster, first, you should get a new package called Hack Central Pro SAC. So it's this one. Not this one, okay, because you have already installed Pistol. So now, if you want to use Pistol cluster, try SAC installer. Okay, so SAC installer, run the package, wait for minutes, log in the page, and this time the default password is different. So small letters HIK, like this, okay, and modify your password, okay. And then add Pistol as storage devices, and also add storage domain. And then create your resource pool and download the keys and finish the adding work. So that's it. Let's have a look about the videos. One more thing is that before you perform the Pistol clusters, make sure that you have already got a Pistol, okay? One Pistol or more Pistols. Run the package of SAC. This is the service manager of the SAC. You see, get started, all working good. Log in the web page, input admin, and small letters, password HIK, like we wrote on the PowerPoint. Actually, you should modify your password, okay? Because when I do the recordings, actually, it's not my first time. So first time to log in, so you will not see the page for you to modify the password. But modify the password please for your first time login. Alright, add your pstores to pstore cluster. I've got one already, and now let's have another pstores. So pstore test, and the device type is pstore. So sorry for interruption, because I think a lot of customers, they have the question, can I manage the hybrid SUN and pstore centrally by the pstore cluster? You can, but not on HackCentral Pro. So HackCentral Pro version 1.6 for now, we only did the pstore cluster to manage the pstore, okay? Not other devices, only pstore for now. Alright, let's go on. The IP address. So about the line, just forget about this part. We don't need to choose the lines, so keep empty. Alright, and now we need the keys. So how can we get the keys? Question for you. Because we're adding the pstores, so if you need the access key and secret keys, we should log in the web page of pstores, right? So let's go back to the pstores. Alright, key management, download the keys and copy. Alright, copy the keys. Let's do it faster. Alright, and picture downloading port. If you need, just enable and save. Alright, that's step 1. So follow the hint. Okay, link to creating resource pool. We click yes, and domain. So domain name. Because cluster is one for all, but for now, HackCentral Pro only supports accessing pstores. So you have to choose storage domain, and this is pstore storage. And now click add to create your resource pool. Alright, link to storage device. Okay. Yes, add it and create resource pool. So you can choose mapping mode or create mode. So automatically you can choose mapping. Information will be filled automatically. So categories for stream pool, general, and overwrite. Search. Yeah, don't forget about clicking search. Alright, and save. Alright, failed. Why is that? So please pay attention to the pool name. Again. So you see, when I do the recordings, I forgot to read the hint there, because there should combine the letters, numbers, and also the characters. Alright, so we go to the user management because we need the keys. So user management and download secret key, you will get the access key and secret key. Because when we add the pstore cluster to HackCentral Pro server, we need these two keys. Alright, so IP address of pstore cluster and also access key and secret keys. Alright, so if you have the one client, please pay attention to the enable one access, whether you need this or not. Alright, username, password, and click add and finish. That's it. It's not hard, right? And how can we use this pstore cluster for storage? So if you want to do the backup, or you want to modify the storage location, we go back to logical view. But now I want to do the backup for pstore, to save the videos in pstore cluster. So storage location, enable pstore cluster, and when we go back to the control client, if you want to filter the video files from pstore cluster, video files first, of course, and filter, choose center you see that pstore, auxiliary storage, pstore cluster. So that's the installation process of pstore cluster and how can we use this pstore cluster. Alright, so any regulations for pstore cluster working on version 1.6? First, only supports managing pstore service on version 1.6. If you want to manage Hybrid Sun, Cloud, or pstore, centrally with the pstore cluster, I'm sorry, you cannot perform the functions in version 1.6 because for now we only manage the pstore service. Alright, pstore cluster service can be installed with Hack Central Pro server but not recommended. And number 3, not recommend that you choose one same physical disk for pstore cluster installation and HCP server. And number 4, pstore cluster service can manage up to 64 pstores. Yeah, that's the regulations for pstore cluster. Alright, so question for you. How many recording servers can I add for, to Hack Central Pro? So it's still 64, okay? So pstore cluster, pstore, Hybrid Sun, all these storage devices are called recording server to Hack Central Pro. So that's the way of how can we use the pstore cluster. Alright, so that's the installation part of operation training. So let's have a quick review. So in this part, we've introduced you 5 installations, but the most important way and most popular way is the number 1, server centralized deployment. One Hack Central server supports 3,000 cameras, 1,024 IP management. But if you want more devices to be, connected and more cameras to be managed, you can choose 2 PCL2 servers to do the server distributed deployment. Alright? If you have more non-Hikvision cameras connected, or you have one client and a lot of operators, so you need to consider when do I need to use the streaming service. And if you want to manage the Windows based NVR, then you can choose pstore. And if you have multiple pstores, then in version 1.6 you can use the new features pstore cluster. Alright, so that's the whole installation part of Hack Central Pro. And later on, we will start our operation training for the monitoring side. Alright, thank you.